And now it's Deborah Kobylt Live.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today for Deborah Kobylt Live. Lovely author we have joining us today, Melanie Young. Thanks for being here, Melanie.
Hi, Deborah. Good to be here.
Love your backdrop. Okay, Melanie, you wrote, this is your second book, Getting Things Off My Chest, A Survivor's Guide to Staying Fearless and Fabulous in the Face of Breast Cancer. This is a terrific read, and there's so much for us to talk about. First, I want to know, where are you calling me from?
I'm calling today from Chattanooga, Tennessee, where I actually grew up.
Okay, and I asked that question because when we did a little bit of a pre-interview, right? You were literally on the road somewhere in Pennsylvania, rural Pennsylvania. You had to step out of a restaurant and talk to me from the car because your entire journey with breast cancer and also the death of your dad and everything else led you down a whole different and unexpected path. And at the moment, you're traveling around the country and you're never really quite sure where you're going to land. I love that. We're going to get into it. But first, tell me a little bit about the book and why'd you write it?
Well, I was diagnosed with stage 2 breast cancer, fortunately early stage, in August 2009, and I am a passionate traveler. I'm a passionate traveler and planner, and I'm very organized. And I was running a very busy culinary events company. So food and drink is my passion and my work. And I was traveling around the world. So when I was diagnosed with breast cancer,
Oof.
like everyone who is diagnosed, you're blindsided and you don't know what to do. And I
Right.
realized as I sought answers and asked questions, I couldn't find what I wanted, which was a lifestyle management guide to managing your life when facing a breast cancer diagnosis. You can't control having cancer, you're diagnosed, but you can control how you manage your life while going through treatment. And you can make pretty important decisions about how you take care of yourself while in treatment, before, during, and after. And that's what this book is. I interviewed numerous survivors because, like a travel guide, you get your best tips from those who've been down that road before, including
A,
me.
a
And that's how
woman,
I did it. It's like a Lonely Planet guide to the trip you never want to take to
mm,
Cancerland, and you don't want a return ticket.
no, thank God so far you have had no return tickets, and very likely you will not.
I will not.
So, because it was quite some time ago now, and it seems right after a certain amount of time, you are in the clear. Is that right?
Uh, no, not really.
Not
Unfortunately,
really.
breast cancer, there's no cure. So, because I happen to be in the very small percentage, like 5 percentile, of women who carry a genetic mutation called BRCA2,
Yes, of course.
I do have some risk of other types of BRCA2 genetic related cancers, which do run in my family. So I actually am pretty vigorous about my screenings. In fact, Deborah, I just came back from New York where I had 12 different exams and screenings because I believe in being very proactive about your health.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about that in the book as well, about
Yes.
certainly the food, the stress, the everything that most of us, as we're just running along with our lives, aren't paying enough attention to. We try to, we read about it, we're like, oh, I got to get better at it, and then all of a sudden you stop in your tracks because you get a diagnosis such as this,
Right.
and you're sort of forced to do it. And what I love about the book is you're sort of saying, don't do that. Be good to yourself now. And then, should you get the diagnosis of breast cancer, it's like, what, there are ways to get through this, which is what I
Exactly.
love.
You don't have a pity
Yeah,
party. It's not about
no.
poor me. It's like, I'm going to be empowered. I'm going to make this the best opportunity to get healthy again. And I'm going to do it intelligently, knowing what I'm going in for and how to manage every aspect of it, looking and feeling my best.
Talk to me a little bit about your company. What was the name of your company?
The connected table.
Connected
The
Table. Tell
connected
me
table.
about your business and tell me about what you did, because it was a huge business in New York City, correct?
Well, it was my former business was M Young Communications, which was a major
Right.
culinary events and marketing and public relations agency. I started the James Beard Awards, which are like the Oscars of the food industry, and was part of the team that put that program on the map and ran it for 16 years, and many other very important programs like New York Restaurant Week. At the time of my diagnosis, I had a pretty successful company, and I was traveling the world for major wine clients. So wine and food was my business. So you can imagine being hit, wow, I have cancer now. How am I going to eat and drink and be merry and strong when I could barely stomach anything that was going in because of chemotherapy? after I finished diagnosis, Deborah, and as you referenced, my father passed away, and he was an integral part of my company. I had one of those moments where I took a major reassessment of what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. I closed M Young Communications. I wrote Getting Things Off My Chest, the survivor's guide to staying fearless and fabulous, because I wanted to go back to what I loved doing, which is writing and communicating to people about how to live a better life. The connected table came out of that decision to start my life over. And I started my own media company. Like you, I have radio shows and podcasts that focus on storytelling, telling the stories of amazing people in food, wine, spirits, hospitality, and nutrition. And I go deep with it, and I write about it, I speak about it, and I also do educational events about eating and drinking.
Now, again, you were living in New York and you recently, right, just sold your house, sold everything pretty much, put it in storage. Can you tell me in your words what you did and what motivated you to do that? Because that's not easy. It's one thing to sell your house and go rent something somewhere else, but you're pretty much mobile right now, right?
Well, Deborah, you're absolutely right. So again, just in the same way I closed M Young Communications because it no longer brought me joy working in public relations, I decided I wanted to do more than what I had been doing with the table. I had moved to the country. Remember Green Acres? Green Acres is the place to be. I was kind of living that life. I was the city girl in the country with my husband.
Do you
We
have a
did that
pit?
after breast cancer because I wanted to have more green and health in my life, but I was lonely and isolated before we all went into isolation. So we made the decision that we wanted to travel the world and live out another fantasy I had based on the Frances May's book, A Year in the World. She's also the author of Under the Tuscan Sun. And she wrote a beautiful book that I kept by my bedside all those years when I was rethinking my life. And it was about living in different places of the world. Due to COVID, we could only live in different places in the United States. And that's what we've been doing since we sold our house in August 2020 and
How did
most
you
of our
pair
possessions.
how did you pare everything down? I attempt to do that, and by the time I walk in the room and open up one of the closets, it's like, forget it, I'll do it another time. I feel sorry for my kids because the day that they have to go through this someday, which by the way, I had to do with my parents, we don't need all this stuff. So the fact that you did that, and I know you don't have children, but the fact that you did that and made the decision to do it, bravo. Was that hard?
It was very hard because my husband was very attached to his family heirlooms. I wanted to do it because I felt that we were surrounded by stuff and we don't have children. And we got to the point in our life where I'm like, where's this going? And then I would go home to visit my mother, and her house was filled with stuff, a lot of stuff. And I thought, what am I going to do with all this stuff? And I realized the stuff was burdening us. I wanted to be lighter. And then I realized you could sell a lot of the stuff and put money in the bank and sell your house and live a little more unencumbered. And that's what we did. It took
I'm
several months
sure.
to do, but we went from a 3,000 square foot house to putting what we have left in an 8 foot by 16 foot storage pod, which is somewhere in upstate New York, and then having a car with two suitcases each, a wine suitcase because we love our wine, and some bedding because we want our own bedding. And that's about what we're traveling with right now.
Well, that's incredible. And you also said to me at one time, right? No longer than 4 hours a day in the car, right?
Oh, yeah.
Do you really hold to that? Because that's hard to do. You in some states you won't even get anywhere. You know what I mean?
Well, Deborah, you're right. But if I go more than 4 hours and I'm the designated driver of the duo, I get pretty cranky. And my husband doesn't like it when I get cranky. So what we do is if it is going to be 5 hours at the max, is we take 1 hour breaks. And you'll see me while he's filling up the tank, Deborah, I'll be doing jumping jacks and yoga downward dogs. I'm the crazy person in the parking lot exercising to regenerate and feel better. But I really try. It's all about the journey. You've got to enjoy the journey, whether it's your life or a road trip. And that's what we
I
try
also
to do around the road.
I often wonder, do people figure that out later in life? You always hear that, especially if you're really young and you're 18, 19, 20, 25, and you're just starting out. It's like, hey, I want to get there. I hope people heed that advice because then all of a sudden one day there's the diagnosis and you go, uh-oh, what have I been doing? I've enjoyed it, but boy, was I on a treadmill, right?
Well, Deborah, I was that person. I was working
Yeah.
my hiney off. And I put, clearly, as I say in my book, I put my business first and my health second. And then I had to reverse my mindset and put my health first and realized At the end of the day, clients come and go, but you got to have your health. And from that
Yeah.
point on, I lived the rest of my life differently. And I focused on what brought me joy and where I could feel better about things and enjoying the journey. It's tough because
Yeah.
I'm a AAA personality. I am goal setting. I am competitive. So I had to work on myself to get there. And you know what? It takes time, but I've learned the mastering the reset, where if I feel like I'm going off this way, I know how to pull it back and reset and say, stop, reset, take some things off your plate, say no to more things, and enjoy the more, less about the goal and the end result and more about enjoying the process.
That is hard to do, though. You're right. As you said, it took a while. Was
Yes.
there anything that really worked for you? Because sometimes I try and do that, even though I haven't really gotten off sort of that life. And I say to myself all the time, Deborah, take a little time for yourself and just pause. And then I end up doing the same thing. And then I say, all right, one thing a day. How about just one? It's a start, right? And how did you do it to where it became a habit?
Well, it started when I was going through treatment and I had to pare down because I
Right.
suffered from massive chemo brain. My brain was like on fire. So I pared down my giant to-do list to no more than 3 to 5 things a day. That's all.
Ah,
And I still live that. If I can now, three things I'm pretty okay about, with COVID. And if I feel I'm getting agitated or anxious, I step outside. I take a 20-minute break. It could be a nap. It could be a walk. It is something where I I call it detach, and get away from anything that's causing the anxiety or the stress. Usually it's going outside and taking a walk. I'm a big walker. I like to think while I walk. That's my creative time. And it really helps. But it could be anything. Other people draw. Some people play with their children. Some people cook. Very therapeutic. You have to find what it is that centers and calms you and take that break and do it and commit to it every day.
yeah, not too much. I was going
Right.
through some grief and quite a bit actually, and I marathoned my way through it, and then I blew out my knees. So I'm here
Oh,
to tell
bless
you,
your
people,
heart.
do it, but don't do what I did. Right? Take it in steps, please.
Right. Don't
Um,
over medicate with wine. Don't over exercise. You can anything that is good for you, you can still overdo. You can even overdrink water and hurt yourself. So
that is
everything in
true.
moderation.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit about what really worked for you in this book. I did. Um, I looked at a few chapters in particular that I wanted to speak about. Well, we talked a little about stress, um, but go ahead.
Well, I can tell you, because I have a food background, the centerpiece of the book, because it's in
Yeah.
different areas, was the eating and drinking. Because I do believe, you are what you eat. Let food be thy medicine and be thy food. That's Hippocrates. And so I really did a deep dive into learning about nutrition and cancer nutrition. I actually went back to study that and became a holistic health coach to substantiate everything I was writing and speaking about. Hydration. Number one, stay hydrated.
Mm.
I said hydrate, masticate. That's chewing and eating in small, healthy bites and healthy meals in small quantities, but regularly so that you don't get dehydrated and you don't whack out your metabolism. Gyrate. So hydrate, gyrate, masticate. Gyrate is exercising daily and meditate. That was my
Is,
mantra.
is there a particular food in particular that you feel like really worked for you that
Mm.
kept you feeling healthy and alert? Anything
Yes.
you
And
could share? Mm.
yes, but it changes for everybody. I've never been pregnant, but a lot of people say when they're pregnant they crave certain things for their body to ease the nausea. In my
Yeah.
case, in my state of chemo brain and state, believe it or not, steamed spinach with
I
a
love
little
steamed spinach.
nutmeg. I love steamed spinach and pineapples and papayas, and I write about that. But I craved citrus, papayas and mangoes and pineapples and steamed spinach. I still to this day, steamed spinach is like my comfort food. I could eat it every morning, noon, and night.
Okay. Do you not? And it's so easy. You don't really have
Yeah,
to do much of anything. If you're not even around a stove, you just put a little water in it, put it in a microwave, but it's very easy to do, or hot water. And it might
yeah.
not steam as well as if you boiled it, in a steamer, but it does do the trick. I love steamed spinach.
And I
I don't
drink
know
the spinach
why.
jus. I drink the spinach jus that is left in the pan. We call that the pot liquor in the South. I drink that because it's actually filled with nutrients, that pot liquor. And then I'll add in, if I want to cream it up, I'll put it in with yogurt, which is a great probiotic, just plain yogurt.
Oh,
And then it's like cream spinach. It's like really awesome. And then I'll
Yeah.
boil
Oh,
egg and chop it up. I mean, it's the basis for everything for me.
that is great. Actually, some plain yogurt, some Greek yogurt, an egg, and steamed spinach. I am actually serious. I'm going to make that today because it's
Drink the
easy.
jus. Drink that jus
If
in the pan.
I love it. Oh, I love this. So now you made your way down to Tennessee. You said you're at your mom's house, right?
Yes.
Um, what is next for you, Melanie? What is next?
Wow, that's a big
Because you've,
question.
well, a big question because you've led a big life
Mm,
and it still is, but in a different way, right? You
yes.
got rid of some stuff and you added others. What's next?
Well, Deborah, we gave this journey the year of, instead of the year of the world, it's a year in the world, WHIRL. We gave it a year. And then we
Hmm.
decided, since we're still not going to Europe yet due to COVID, that we need to settle down. We're heading to New Orleans, and I think
Ah,
that's my happy place. If we can survive New Orleans during hurricane season, we can survive it anytime. But New Orleans
and
is
it's
my happy
hot.
place. It's hot.
It's
Well, I'm used to heat. I'm from grew up in the South. My husband, not so. He's from New York. So I said, David, if you complain too
oops.
much, we're not staying. But New Orleans has always been my happy place. I have family there. I went to college there. David, my husband, and I were married there. For us, it's always been the place we go to recenter. So we're going to try to resettle there, continue doing our shows, writing, and I'll pick up some consulting work down there. We're actually actively looking for gigs, as they say right now. And I want to write a book about this amazing experience of selling your possessions, decluttering your life, living simpler, living with more fabulous and frugal. Now, I'm going to say that because I used to just cards everywhere. One of the first things I did when I sold my house was pay off all my debt. I wanted to be debt free. I wanted to have a clean slate. I wanted to live with less burden and see what it was like to live with less, but have more because of it. And for that reason, there's a book in it and the journey we took to travel on the road and do it. As everybody's asking me, how did you do that? How did you get rid of your stuff? How did you manage? And we did. And I'm going to tell you, I was the last person you think who would do it. Trust me.
Yeah, but look what it took to get you to do it,
Hmm.
right? But it was that good attitude. And I know that when you were first diagnosed, you called a friend who had been there and she helped you through it. All of that's really important, but you did take control of your own health. So you were very proactive with it. And do you have any idea where the journey is going to take you now? So you say your next step is going to be, or is that just the whole purpose of this? You don't need to really know the next step. You'd like to pick up consulting work. You've got a book in there. You're going to a place that's meaningful to you. And I guess that's where you're at. And that's enough, right?
It is. You know what I've learned in the process of the journey with my husband as we travel around? What we have learned is community is very important. And one of the reasons
Mm,
we left the little town where we were living in the Hudson Valley, which really was like fairyland and beautiful, is that we felt we'd lost some of our community. And we want to go where we're getting older in life. And we want to be in a place at that part of our life where we're much older, where we have community and friends that we can be with and support in thick and thin. And we know that's
mm.
very important. So that's why we're looking for a base. I have lots, I said, lots of friends and family where we're going, and that's really important. So that's one goal. As to my business and career, I've succeeded in so many things. I just really want to support the community where I'm going to be and continue to support the communities that I've worked with, which is communities of dynamic women, because I want to empower women to not get sick, to stay healthy, and envision the life they want with less stress and more purpose. And I love my food and beverage community. They've been good to me. They're wonderful people. They took a big hit during the pandemic. I've tried to be there for them. So that's really important. What can I do to be a better community citizen wherever I am in the world?
More recipes with steamed spinach. That's what I have to say. I love it. I love it. Make sure you put a good recipe or two or three in your next book
Yeah,
because it is healthy. You're right. And I love that you talk about healthy food in here because it's
so
everything. And
important.
if we can get off the mindset of putting stuffing ourselves with junk, um, and it doesn't even have to be bad, but sometimes we stuff ourselves, and that's not healthy either. We have to learn to eat properly because we're here to fuel it. So please pick up Getting Things Off My Chest. Anything you'd like to say to our viewers and listeners about the book, about you, that you want people to know?
I want any woman or the loved person, the person who is caring for that woman who is diagnosed with breast cancer, know you're not alone. There is a wealth of support. You can control the journey. You don't have to be fearful. You don't have to be embarrassed. You don't have to be afraid. You didn't do anything wrong. You're going to do everything right to get healthy and stay healthy. And a good way to do that is start by taking better care of yourself, eating better, exercising, hydrating, giving yourself rest and love. Because really that's
Love.
going to get you through it. And that's going to continue to help you as you continue through life. You've got to take care of yourself and put yourself first.
And I'd also like to say we have a few sponsors on our show, and what a fun journey it would be. One of my favorite clothing stores really, really is Faherty, fahertybrand.com. And I want to tell all of our viewers and listeners, this is a great summer line, right? It's linen, got all organic materials. It's a family business out of Spring Lake, New Jersey. That'd be a sort of a fun addition, right? You throw it in the luggage, you roll it up. It's fahertybrand.com/Deb20. So we're going to do a little commercial on that, followed up by some summer reading commercials. But before we let you go, I do want to tell everybody, getting things off my chest, please pick it up. Give it also to a friend who sort of needs to read this, but also yourself. You don't have to have been diagnosed with breast cancer to read this, because we all need to know a better way to take care of ourselves. So perhaps we can avoid going down a road like that, because I know 1 in 8 of us may be diagnosed with breast cancer. Let's do the best we can to avoid that. And it's all in here. Melanie Young's Getting Things Off My Chest. I'm so excited to be talking to you. And like I said, I've never had anybody call me from the road, on the side of the road in rural Pennsylvania.
From a
that
restaurant.
Really,
That's my house. That's my office, a restaurant.
We were texting, and she's like, okay, I'm going to go into the car. I'm like, all right, thank you. So that was your office. So you've got a message to tell people with this book. So I appreciate it very much. Enjoy your journey. Have a great time in New Orleans when you get there, and stay in touch with us, okay?
As they say in Nomadland, and what I say, I see you down the road.
See you down the road, Melanie Young. And now here's our 2 commercials. And thanks everybody for joining us for Deborah Kobylt Live. Bye-bye.
I love our latest collaboration, Faherty. I'm so obsessed with their products that over the weekend I purchased everything from hats, shorts, sundresses, and even a few shirts for my husband at their Malibu store close to where I live. At Faherty, summer is in their DNA, and everything from their blankets to shorts and tees are beautifully woven organic materials, and that's everything to me. Faherty is about family, and I was so excited to learn that the family who actually started Faherty were from Spring Lake, New Jersey, where I spent so many summers as a kid. And they care about what I care about: simple, top quality clothes for every day, for travel, casual evenings, just the way we live in our family. So please shop fahertybrand.com and make sure to put in the code DEB20 for your special discount. And happy summer! I just read the most amazing book, and I'd love to recommend it to all of my viewers and listeners. It's called The Lost and Found Bookshop by New York Times bestseller Susan Wiggs, and it's available now on paperback at harpercollins.com. It is perfect as a summer read by the pool, the beach, the lake, or if you're traveling by plane. So here's the premise. Natalie Harper inherits a financially strapped bookshop in San Francisco after her mother dies. She also becomes the caretaker to her grandfather, and it's books that become a welcome retreat for her grief and tough times. People magazine calls the book a feel-good family saga. I call it incredible. In fact, I felt for Natalie, and I wanted to know what else she found inside the pages of those books. The Lost and Found Bookshop is about life's ups and downs and how we get through them. Pick it up at harpercollins.com, and remember, tell them Deborah Kobylt sent you.